Hello everyone. Now today we will study oculomotor nerve. Today's our topic of discussion is oculomotor nerve. As we had seen in the previous video about optic nerve, the nerve of vision, that was sensory nerve. Now the oculomotor nerve is also called as third cranial nerve. So it is also called as third cranial nerve, and it is very important cranial nerve. All the cranial nerves, 12 pairs, they are very important. So the third one is the oculomotor nerve. This oculomotor nerve, it is distributed to the extraocular muscles and the intraocular muscles of the eyeball. Both majority of the extraocular muscles and the most of the or all of the intraocular muscles are distributed with the help of this third cranial nerve or oculomotor nerve, and it is somatic motor nerve. As we had seen, the optic nerve that was purely sensory in nature, but here it is a somatic motor nerve. So very important thing, somatic motor nerve. Now we will see the functional component, how it does the functions, and what are the functional components of this oculomotor nerve. This oculomotor nerve, it is general somatic efferent for the movement of eyeball. As I had told you, most of the extraocular muscles of the eyeball is distributed or it is supplied by the oculomotor nerve. So the fibers, they are general somatic efferent or they are motor fibers which are supplying for the movement of the most of the muscles of the extraocular muscle of the eyeball. Most of the muscle of extraocular muscle of eyeball. Now the second functional component is the general visceral efferent. This general visceral efferents, fibers arise from the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. This fiber arise from the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. It is also called as the parasympathetic fibers. These are for the contraction of pupil and accommodation. So the second functional component is the general visceral efferent or parasympathetic for the contraction of pupil and accommodation. So this is from the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Now the third functional component, that is the general somatic afferent. This is for the proprioceptive impulse for the muscle of eyeball. Means proprioceptive impulse for the muscles of eyeball, it is to be supplied by the general somatic afferent. So these are about the functional component of oculomotor nerve. Now we will see the nucleus of the oculomotor nerve. The nucleus of oculomotor nerve, it is situated in the central part of the gray matter of midbrain at the level of superior colliculus. So nucleus of the oculomotor nerve, that is situated in the central part of the gray matter of midbrain at the level of superior colliculus, and this nucleus that supplies most of the extraocular muscle of eyeball except superior oblique and the lateral rectus. The total extraocular muscle of eyeball, they are 7 in number. These two, means the superior oblique and the lateral rectus, they are not supplied by the third cranial nerve or the oculomotor nerve. Rest of the 5 are supplied by the oculomotor nerve. That's why I told us it is most of the extraocular muscle are supplied by the third cranial nerve or the oculomotor nerve, except superior oblique and lateral rectus. The superior oblique supplied by the 4th cranial nerve and the lateral rectus supplied by the 6th cranial nerve. That's why the formula is that the SO4 NR6 and rest of the extraocular muscles are supplied by the 3rd cranial nerve. And the fibers for the constrictor pupillae and for the ciliaris, these are the smooth muscle of the eyeball. So the fibers for the constrictor pupillae and for the ciliaris arise from the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. As we had told in the functional component, they are the general visceral efferent. This general visceral efferent fibers, they arise from the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Now we will study the course and distribution of oculomotor nerve, that is the third cranial nerve. As we had seen, it gets arise from the the nucleus lies in the central part of the midbrain, and just beside to it, this is the nucleus of the third nerve. This is the section of midbrain, and this is the nucleus of the third nerve. And beside the nucleus of third nerve, there is another nucleus called as Edinger-Westphal nucleus. See, these some fibers, they arise from the, as I had told you, the fibers which arise from the nucleus, they are giving supply to the extraocular muscle, while the fiber which arise from the Edinger-Westphal nucleus, they supplies the ciliaries and the sphincter pupillae muscle. That is the smooth muscle. So after arising at the midbrain from its central part, the fibers, they passes through the tegmentum. The fibers, they are passes through tegmentum, the red nucleus, and substantia nigra. These are the all parts which lie in the midbrain. So it passes anteriorly and crosses the tegmentum, red nucleus, and substantia nigra. And from there, then it travels to the oculomotor sulcus. After passing from here, it passes, after arising, it passes from the tegmentum, red nucleus, and substantia nigra, and then from the oculomotor sulcus, it passes then in between superior cerebellar and the posterior cerebral artery. This superior cerebellar and the posterior cerebral artery, they are the branches of basilar artery. So from this, it passes in between the superior cerebral artery and the posterior cerebral artery. This is the superior cerebellar artery and this is the posterior cerebral artery. So it passes in between both arteries, and these both are the branches of basilar artery. And basilar artery, as we had seen in the blood supply of the brain, the blood supply of the brain, the circle of Willis, as we had seen, the basilar artery that forms by the union of two vertebral artery. So two vertebral arteries going to form the basilar artery, and these both are the branches of basilar artery. From this, it enters in the cavernosus sinus. This blue colored structure is the cavernosus sinus. So first it enters in the posterior part, posterior and the upper part of the cavernosus sinus, then travels to the lateral wall of the cavernosus sinus. So it enters from the posterior upper part of the cavernosus sinus and then crosses from the lateral wall of the cavernosus sinus, and after that it divides into two divisions. See, from the cavernosus sinus, now it is divided into two divisions, the superior division and the inferior division, or upper division, the lower division. And these two divisions, they enters in the superior orbital fissure, SOF. Means this is the superior orbital fissure. So they enters in the superior orbital fissure, the two division which divides after leaving the cavernosus sinus, lateral wall of the cavernosus sinus. The both division, the superior and the inferior division, they traverse through the superior orbital fissure. The upper division, see, this is the upper division, this is the upper division. The upper division which is going upward and that supplies the superior rectus and the levator palpebrae superioris. These upper two muscles are supplied by the superior division. So after leaving the superior orbital fissure, the superior division or the upper division that supplies the levator palpebrae superioris, see, the and superior rectus. So superior rectus and levator palpebrae superioris, it is supplied by the upper division with the help of upper division. And this lower division, the lower division, see, this is the lower division. The lower division, it supplies the inferior oblique, then the inferior rectus and the medial rectus. So this medial rectus, inferior rectus and the inferior obliques. See, medial rectus, inferior rectus and the inferior oblique, these are supplied by the lower division. So I had told you there are total 7 extraocular muscles, out of which 5 are supplied by the oculomotor nerve, in which the upper division supplies the superior rectus and levator palpebrae superioris, means 2 muscles, while as the lower division that supplies the medial rectus, inferior rectus and internal or inferior oblique, not internal, inferior oblique. So these 5 muscles, extraocular muscles, are supplied by the oculomotor nerve. From the motor root, from the internal oblique. See, this is the branch for internal oblique. From the motor root of the internal oblique, a fiber arise. See, the motor root of the internal oblique, it contains a preganglionic nerve. So this is the motor root of the internal oblique. It contains a preganglionic nerve fiber of Edinger-Westphal nucleus. This is the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. The Edinger-Westphal nucleus, its preganglion fiber that is arise from the division of inferior oblique. The division which supplies, or the branch which supplies to the inferior oblique, that gives a division, or that gives a preganglionic nerve fiber which arises from the Edinger-Westphal nucleus, and they will relay the ciliary ganglion. See, after this, arising from this, the motor branch of this inferior oblique, they relay to the ciliary ganglion. This is the ciliary ganglion. See, this is the ciliary ganglion, and then in the ciliary ganglion, it contains, I have told you, the Edinger-Westphal nucleus, and that supplies to the sphincter pupillae and the ciliaris muscle. So this is about the course and distribution of the oculomotor nerve. This oculomotor nerve that arises from the midbrain, central part of the midbrain, and a parasympathetic part arises from the Edinger-Westphal nucleus, and then runs forward, first to the tegmentum, then to the red nucleus, and then to the substantia nigra, and here they runs to the oculomotor sulcus, and then enters over the posterior and upper part of the cavernosus sinus, then on the lateral wall of the cavernosus sinus, and then divides into 2 divisions, upper and lower division. Both division that will transverse, or that will enter into the superior orbital fissure. This is the superior orbital fissure, this one is the superior orbital fissure, and this is the central part of the superior orbital fissure, and then runs upward, and the upper division that supplies the superior rectus, superior rectus and the levator palpebrae superioris, while the lower division supplies the medial rectus, then inferior rectus and inferior oblique. Whereas the fibers from the motor root of the internal oblique, this is the motor root of internal oblique. This motor root of internal oblique, it contains the fibers, preganglionic fiber of the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. So they will go to the ciliary ganglion, and then ultimately it will supply to the sphincter pupillae and the ciliaris muscle. This is about the course and distribution of oculomotor nerve. Now we will see the clinical or applied anatomy of oculomotor nerve. Clinical or applied anatomy of oculomotor nerve. Complete paralysis of the third cranial nerve that result in, if suppose there is a complete paralysis of the third cranial nerve occurs, what are the conditions we can able to see in the patients? We will see ptosis, means drooping of upper eyelid. This upper eyelid gets drooped down. The patient can't able to elevate the upper eyelid. That is called as ptosis, means drooping of upper eyelid. The loss of accommodation, as the postganglionic fibers from the ciliary ganglion, if they get damaged, they will cause loss of accommodation. If there is a paralysis of elevator, the levator palpebrae superior occurs, it will cause ptosis. So ptosis, it is caused by the paralysis of this levator palpebrae superioris muscle, while as loss of accommodation, it is caused by the paralysis of postganglionic ciliary fibers, or postganglionic fibers from the ciliary ganglion. And there is a lateral squint. There is a squint, means a deviation of the eyeball on the side, that is called a squint. The patient will complain lateral squint. And there is a diplopia, means there will be a double vision. Patient can be able to see two double objects. So that is called as diplopia, means double vision. Patient will complain that what I am seeing, that is seeing double. So that is called as diplopia. These are all due to the complete paralysis of the third cranial nerve or the oculomotor nerve. Now the next apparent topic, that is the second one. This is the midbrain lesion, because we had seen it originates from the midbrain. So So midbrain lesion causes contralateral hemiplegia. If the midbrain lesion of left side occurs, it will cause the hemiplegia of right side, means contralateral, means opposite side. But ipsilateral paralysis of third nerve. What will happen if the midbrain, if the left-sided midbrain lesion is there is a paralysis of or hemiplegia of the right side, but the third nerve get paralyzed of ipsilateral side, means same side. If there is a left side of the midbrain is hampered, then there is a lesion of left side of midbrain will occur. What happen? The right-sided hemiplegia will be there, but the left third oculomotor nerve will get paralyzed. This is about the applied anatomy of the or clinical anatomy of this third oculomotor nerve, third nerve or oculomotor nerve. It is very important cranial nerve. Thank you very much.